What's going on, guys? This is Vince with vshred.com, and in this video I'm going to be giving you the 3 best tips you will ever learn when it comes to bodybuilding. When it comes to bodybuilding, and the whole reason that you are calling it bodybuilding is because you're actually focusing on building muscle rather than building strength. Whereas if you were a power lifter, you're focusing on just the amount of weight that you can push, your total PR of the 3 big lifts, your squat, your deadlift, and your bench press. If you're not a power lifter and you're trying to actually build muscle and you're trying to build a physique that you're proud of, you're trying to build your chest if it's lacking, or you're trying to build a wider back, or you're trying to build bigger biceps, you're bodybuilding. When it comes to bodybuilding, you're actually working the muscles so that they grow. You're actually just you're forgetting about weight and you're focusing on actually stimulating the muscle fibers. So the first tip that I'm going to talk about right now is just simply the mind-muscle connection. And this is something that I've made videos about in the past and something that I will continue to talk about in the future. But I have a bar here right here, and I'm going to show you a lot of times when guys are going to do, I'm using a straight bar curl as an example. A lot of times when guys are going to do any kind of motion, really, any kind of exercise, they're not focusing on getting that mind-muscle connection and actually targeting that muscle that they're trying to isolate there. They're just trying to get the weight from point A to point B. So this is the first tip. So when you see guys who are going to do, let's say, a straight bar curl, a lot of times they're just trying to get the bar from here to here using whatever muscles they're going to use. And a lot of times that means a little bounce in the knees to create some momentum at the bottom. A lot of times that means leaning back with their lower back so that they can really just use other kind of muscles, or it means bringing their arms forward so that they're using a little bit of their shoulder. There's a big difference between doing a curl like this and a curl like this. Big difference. And the only difference that's going on, other than the little bounce or using other muscles to get that weight up, is just what's going on in here, what's going on in your head, and how you are actually focusing on getting that weight from the bottom to the top. Because what you need to realize is that you're not just trying to get the weight from here to here. You're focusing, the whole focus of the exercise is that part in between. The bottom of the exercise, yes, the full range of motion matters, and that's something I'll get into here in a second, but what you're trying to focus on is every single inch in between there, because that is one of the contractions. That is the concentric contraction. That is the way up. So the way from the bottom to the top is as important as anything in the exercise, in the same way on the way down. And with a bicep curl, the eccentric contraction, the way down, is even more important than the concentric contraction. So if you're just trying to get the weight from the bottom to the top, and then you're just dropping it down, you're not actually going to get any kind of muscle stimulation. Therefore, you're not going to break down any muscle fibers. Therefore, your muscles aren't going to grow. And that's probably, if you're guilty of this, that's probably why you haven't made that much progress in the mirror, because you're not actually stimulating your muscle fibers. So make that change, and I guarantee it makes a big difference. After that, what I want to talk about is, like I just said, full range of motion. Because a lot of times, I'm going to use the exact same exercise as an example, because a lot of times when guys are going to do, let's say, a bicep curl, they're going from here, and then they're going to probably bend their arms a little bit, and they're going right here. I actually just saw someone downstairs doing this. And they think that because they're going from the weight down here to the weight up here, that they're getting a good lift right here. And they're doing 10 reps, and then they put it down, and they're happy. Well, when I have the bar in my hand, and I'm doing a curl just like I was, and I'm going right here, what is my bicep actually doing when I'm going like this? Because what's happening is I'm bringing my elbow back. I'm not actually, the whole point of this exercise is to lengthen your muscle and shorten your muscle. And the whole way that you're going to get the max hypertrophy of the muscle, the maximal muscle stimulation, muscle breakdown, is by getting the full range of motion, which is keeping your elbow in the exact same spot and focusing on lengthening that muscle all the way, keeping tension on the muscle, and then squeezing it back up all the way to the top to get that peak contraction and back down. So there's a big difference between going right here to where my elbows are going back, and I'm only actually curling the weight about this much, because with my elbow going back, I'm just kind of using my shoulder a little bit and bringing my elbow back. I'm not really getting any kind of range of motion. The range of motion is what's going to stimulate those muscle fibers. So big difference between right here and right here. Big difference. I can feel it. You can probably see it in my muscle. And when you do that over and over and over and over into the gym, you're going to find that you're growing. You're going to actually stimulate those muscle fibers. you're gonna get a better pump in the gym, and it's going to result in more progress as you go. So that's the second tip. The third tip is going to be no cheated rests. And what I mean by no cheated rest, and this is another one that I'm gonna use a bicep curl as an example because, and this is something that happens with every single exercise I see in the gym, no matter if you're hitting back or chest or arms or legs or whatever, people cheat rests without even knowing it. I'm not saying that you're doing it on purpose. I'm saying you're doing it without even knowing it, and it's hurting you, and this is something that pretty much everybody I see in the gym needs to fix. So when you're doing a bicep curl, let's say you have the mind muscle connection, you have the full range of motion, but the same thing when you're at the bottom of the exercise, what you're doing is if you drop it all the way down to the bottom, if you drop it right here, and your arms are locked out, which your arms should be completely open to give you that full range of motion. But if you go for that full range of motion and you're not focusing on not doing a little rest at the bottom, so if you're going to completely locked out arms and then you basically just let it hang, there's a big difference between letting this muscle, the weight hang right here when I have zero tension on my muscle right now, zero tension on my biceps. I could hold this weight right here for probably 5-10 minutes. Whereas if I flexed my biceps, I'm still opening my arms, I'm still straightening my arms just as much, but the difference is I'm not doing a little 1 second cheated rest because so let's say you have the mind muscle connection, the full range of motion. So you're curling up, and then the same thing at the top, which I'll get to in here in a second. When you go down to the bottom, if you drop it to the bottom and you lose tension on the muscle, that's 1 second of cheated rest every single time. So you curl up, down to the bottom, 1 second cheated rest right there. Curl it back up, down to the bottom, 1 second cheated rest. Whereas if you were to curl the weight up, down to the bottom, keeping tension the entire time, I'm not losing tension right here. I'm still squeezing that bicep and go right back into it. That's 10 times harder than if I were to just basically lose tension on my muscle and then squeeze it back up. And then on the other side of it, when you're at the top of the exercise, a lot of times when guys are doing a bicep curl, they're going curl up, and then at the top, they're letting their elbows come under the bar and they're just holding it right here. And I'm not saying they're holding it here for 5 seconds. I'm saying they're holding it here for a half a second and then going back into it. So at the top of this exercise, when they do that, that's a half second of cheated rest. Whereas if you were to curl it up, you were to keep your elbows in the exact same position the entire time, curl it up all the way, keeping your elbows there, feeling that, just squeezing the muscle the entire time and then going back down into the eccentric contraction, squeezing it back up, never losing tension, that is not going to have any cheated rest. Therefore, you're going to maximize the time under tension. I'm sweating my ass off right now teaching this to you guys. And that's just to show you how much these 3 tips work. Because if I were to just go into a bicep curl and I were to, not have that mind muscle connection and just throw the weight, I wouldn't feel it in my bicep. B, if I didn't focus on the full range of motion and I was just kind of trying to get it from point A to point B, then I wouldn't maximize the muscle stimulation on my bicep. And third, if I wasn't focusing on not cheating, basically preventing any kind of like 1 second cheated rest at the bottom or at the top, then I'm going to feel it and I'm actually going to work my muscles when I'm at the gym, which is what you're trying to do, guys. So make sure you fix these 3 steps. If you want a program that has all of this built in, you got to check out vshred.com, check out our programs. I actually have a free quiz that will match you up with the program that is right for your body. I'll link it in the description below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know to keep making these videos, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you know when I'm releasing new things like this, and comment your questions in the comment section below, and maybe I can help you guys out and make a video about it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.